the Srimad-Bhagavatam is actually the supreme literature which almost is as good as the Supreme Lord himself in its role to guide the entire human society on the path of the supreme spiritual principles. And therefore it is stated in 1.3.43 of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishne Swadhamopagate Dharma Jnanadhibhis saha Kalau Nashtadrishamesha Puranarko Adhunoditaha. The Bhagavatam has risen just like the sun, which provides its bright illuminating light to everyone on the path of religion, knowledge, and spiritual life. With regards to the avatars, it is also stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.29, after the explanation, after the description of all the various avatars, that etad bhagavato rupam, all the forms of the Supreme Lord are completely divine and spiritual, and anyone who recites or hears about the various avatars, about the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, it also becomes free from all material bondage. Hare Krishna. So it is stated that Janma Guhyam Bhagavato Ya etat prayato naraha Sayam pratar ghrinan bhaktya dukkha gramad vimuchyate. The appearance and all the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his multifarious incarnations are completely divine and spiritual, to the level that anyone who hears them, especially rising early in the morning or in the evening, becomes free from all the material miseries and attains the supreme perfection of liberation. So, in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam is explained to be in 1.3.40 that idam bhagavatam nama puranam brahma sammitam uttama shloka charitam chakara bhagavan rishi nishreyasaya lokasya dhanyam swastyayanam mahat. This is a very, very beautiful description of the glory of the Mahatmya of this great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, that idam bhagavatam nama puranam Brahma Sammitam. This is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranam Brahma Sammitam. It is Sakshat Parabrahman Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi. It has been composed by the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, that is the great sage Veda Vyasa, who has also been mentioned in the list of the Leela avatars to be the 17th avatara as Tataha Saptadashe Jataha Satyavatyam Parasharat. So he is the 17th Leela incarnation, Veda Vyasa, and he has composed this beautiful literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhanyam Swastyayanam Mahat Nishreyasaya Lokasya. It gives the supreme benefit to all the people of this world, and it is most auspicious and most glorious. This Srimad Bhagavatam, Satu Samshravayamasa, was spoken earlier by the great Shukadeva Goswami. Satu Samshravayamasa Maharajam Parikshitam Prayopavishto Gangayam Paritam Paramaghshibhihi. It was spoken by the great sage Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit in the great assembly of sages on the banks of the Ganga river. So, in this way, Suta Goswami gives the answers to the 6 questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya, and beginning from the 4th chapter of the 1st canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam is the wonderful narration of the history of the Srimad Bhagavatam, of the compilation of this greatest literature by the great sage Veda Vyasa, and Veda Vyasa composed the Srimad Bhagavatam by the inspiration of the supreme sage Srila Narada Maharshi. So we will find now in the next three chapters, in chapter 4, 5 and 6 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the fascinating and wonderful histories of Veda Vyasa and Narada Maharshi. There is the very, very interesting history of the previous birth of Narada as well in these chapters. In the beginning of the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam 1st canto, the sages of Naimisharanya put forth some more queries, some more questions to the great sage Suta Goswami. They ask him, Suta Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Vada Katham Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Shukaha, that they express their great eagerness to hear the entire message of the Srimad Bhagavatam as it was spoken by the great sage Shukadeva Goswami. They further are curious and inquisitive to know about the timeline of the Srimad Bhagavatam, how it was composed, when it was composed, what were the circumstances under which the Srimad Bhagavatam was composed by Veda Vyasa. So they ask, Kasmin yuge pravritteyam sthaneva kena hetuna kuta sanchodita uh, uh, kritavan sattvatam munihi, that Kasmin yuge pravrittayam, when at what duration of time was the Srimad Bhagavatam compiled, under what circumstances. So all these questions about how did the Srimad Bhagavatam, how was it instructed by Veda Vyasa to his son Shukadeva Goswami, and under what circumstances did Shukadeva Goswami come in contact with the great king Parikshit Maharaj, Parikshita, who is the grandson of the great personality and devotee Arjuna. So Abhimanyu Sutam Suta Prahur Bhagavatottamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Karmani Cha Grinihinaha. The sages of Naimisharanya ask also, they inquire about the wonderful birth of Abhimanyu Sutta, the son of Abhimanyu or the grandson of Arjuna, that is Parikshit, that his Janma, his birth is most wonderful and extraordinary. Tasya Janma Mahascharyam, and please narrate to him about why he had to suddenly give up all his royal opulences and proceed to the forest, and how did he hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami in 7 days. So being thus inquired, Suta Goswami first began to narrate this very, very wonderful history of the Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with its compilation by Veda Vyasa. So now, Suta Goswami says that Dvapare samanuprapte tritiye yuga paryaye jatah parasharad yogi vasavyam kalaya harehe. At the conjunction of the Dvapara Yuga and the Treta Yuga, the great sage Veda Vyasa appeared to Parashara and Satyavati, and Veda Vyasa was engaged in deep contemplation, especially for the benefit of the people of the present age called Kali Yuga. So Veda Vyasa could foresee the degraded and deplorable situation of the present age of Kali Yuga, especially in terms of the spiritual path, how people would be completely be absorbed in materialistic activities and would hardly be interested in the path of spirituality. So Veda Vyasa was very eager, was in deep meditation at his ashrama. His ashrama is later mentioned in the 7th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam in text 2 and 3, that Tasmin Swa Ashrame Vyaso Badari Shandamandite Asinopa Upasprishya Pranidadhyau Manasvayam Shamya Prasa iti Prokta. On the western banks of the river Saraswati, Prachyam Saraswatyam Ashramaha Paschime Tate Shamya Prasa iti Prokta Rishinam Satravardhanaha. The name of Veda Vyasa Ashrama is known as Shamya Prasa, and this Shamya Prasa, the ashram of Veda Vyasa, was beautifully located on the western banks of the river Saraswati, near the Badarika Ashrama, which is even presently situated in the state of Uttarakhand. Badarika Ashrama or Badarinath is one of the four Char Dhams, one of the four most important holy places. And at Badarinath, further north, even today there is a place called Mana where the Vyasa Ashrama is located, and the Vyasa Guha, the exact spot where Veda Vyasa compiled all the Vedic scriptures. And finally, the Srimad Bhagavatam is also still located and situated there. So, here Veda Vyasa was in deep contemplation, and he could understand that the Vedas, till then they were known as Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard. So, up to the time of the end of Dwapara Yuga, there was no compilation of the Vedas because they were just Shruti, that a student would go to the ashrama of a guru, of the spiritual master, to the Gurukula, and there Shruti means to hear. He would hear the knowledge, the instruction, the teachings of the Vedas, and the people of those times were known as Shruti Dhara, that whatever they would hear once, they would remember it, they could bear it for the rest of their lifetime. So, therefore, there was no need to compose or write or compile all the Vedic scriptures. The system of the transmission of the knowledge of Vedas was by this method from the guru to the disciple, and then from the disciple to his disciple. So in this way, the knowledge of the Vedas was passed. But now Veda Vyasa could foresee that this method would be impractical in the Kali Yuga, because people would not have such kind of physical and mental capacities to bear the complete knowledge of the Vedas. And therefore, Veda Vyasa, actually his original name is Dvaipayana, and because his name is Krishna Dvaipayana, but because he compiled all the Vedas, his name became Veda Vyasa. Vyasa means one who does sangrahana or compilation of all the scriptures. And therefore, Veda Vyasa is actually the title to Sri Krishna Dvaipayana for his great work of compiling all the Vedas. So what he did was Vedam Ekam Chaturvidham. Till the end of Dwapar Yuga, there was only one Veda, Vedam Ekam. So that one Veda was the Yajur Veda. So Veda Vyasa first divided the one Veda into four parts. So what are those four parts? Rig, Yajuhu, Sama, Atharvakya, Vedas Chatvara Udhritaha, Itihasa Puranam Cha, Panchamo Veda Uchyate. The four Vedas are Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda. So they were always there, but they were part of one Veda, that is the Yajur Veda, and Veda Vyasa further divided into four parts of Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda for the easy understanding of the ordinary, of the common mass of people, so that it becomes easier for them to comprehend and to understand. So later, Itihasa Puranam Cha Panchamo Veda Uchyate. Then there is the fifth Veda. The fifth Veda is the Itihasas. The Itihasas are two, the great histories of Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and also the 18 Puranas. So these Puranas and the Itihasas, they are regarded as the Panchama Veda or the fifth Veda. Sometimes some philosophers, some historians, they minimize the value and the level of the Smriti of the Puranas, saying that the Vedas are superior and the Puranas are inferior. But here we find in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that there is no such distinction made by Veda Vyasa. In fact, the Itihasas and the Puranas are given the same status of the Vedas, and they are regarded to be the fifth Veda. And in fact, the word Purana also means Purayati iti Puranaha. One that completes the Vedic knowledge is called as Purana. So the Puranas are no less, they are as authoritative as all the Vedic scriptures. And in fact, some of the Itihasas and some of the Puranas are in fact regarded to be the highest cream of the entire Vedic knowledge. Just like Bhagavad Gita, which is part of the Itihas of Mahabharata, is considered to be the essence of all the Upanishads, which are the essence of all the Vedas, and therefore the Bhagavad Gita is regarded to be the distilled essence of the entire Vedic knowledge. Or likewise, the Srimad Bhagavatam is already declared in 1.1.3 that Nigama Kalpataror Ghalitam Phalam, it is the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree. So therefore, the Puranas and the Vedas both are on an equal authoritative level. To make the comprehension of the Vedic knowledge easier to everyone, Veda Vyasa divided the one Veda into four parts, then called his four principal disciples and gave each Veda to one of his disciples. Tatra Rigveda Dhara Pailaha Samago Jaimini Kavihi Vaishampayana Evaiko Nishnatam Yajushamuta Atharvangira Samasit Sumantur Daruno Munihi Itihasa Purananam Pitamero Maharshanaha. There are the four Vedas, and then the fifth Veda is the Itihasas and the Puranas. So Veda Vyasa in fact called five of his principal disciples and gave each of the Veda to each of his disciple. He gave the Rig Veda to Paila Rishi. He gave the Sama Veda to Jaimini Kavi. Samago Jaimini Kavihi Vaishampayana Evaiko Nishnatam Yajushamuta. He gave the Yajurveda to Vaishampayana Rishi. Likewise, Atharvangira Samasit Sumantug Daruno Munihi. He gave the Atharva Veda to Angira Sumantu Muni. And then the fifth Veda, that is the Itihasas and Puranas, was handed over by the great sage Veda Vyasa to Pitame Romahagshanaha, to the father of Suta Goswami, that is Suta Goswami. In fact, there are two Suta Goswamis, that is the father Suta and the son Suta. So the name of the father Suta is Romahagshana Suta and his son is Ugrashrava Suta. So in fact, 17 Puranas were spoken by Romahagshana Suta, but the one Purana, Bhagavata Purana, which the Suta Uvacha, Suta is speaking, is Ugrashrava Suta, the son of Romahagshana Suta. So in this way, Veda Vyasa divided the Vedas into various parts, and further ta eta rishayo vedam swam swam vyasyan anekadha shishye prashishye tat shishyer vedaste shakhino bhavan. uh, each of the disciple of Veda Vyasa who received that branch of Veda further divided that Veda into sub parts and gave it to his disciples. And again, those disciples further subdivided their part of the Veda into further subparts and gave it to many of their disciples. And in this way, Vedas te Shakhino Bhavan, there arose many branches of the Vedic knowledge. So, these Vedic, this division, this great work of dividing the Vedic knowledge into many parts and subparts by disciples and disciples of the disciples and their disciples of Veda Vyasa was a great transcendental work undertaken at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And it is stated in the Vedic scriptures in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that just by hearing of this great spiritual activity of the division of the Vedic knowledge, one attains the highest stage of liberation. So this is later very beautifully explained in the 6th and the 7th chapters of the 12th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Sometimes historians say that the Vedic history has not been very systematic in their presentation or compilation of historical events and facts, but actually they have not really gone into the depths of the Vedic understanding and knowledge, and therefore casually from a very distant perspective and viewpoint they pass such comments. So I'll just give a very brief narration of the wonderful compilation and division of the Vedic knowledge. So please hear this attentively. This is a very wonderful description. It is stated that Rig Atharva Yaju Samnam Rashi Rudhritya Vargashaha Chatasraha Samhitash Chakre Mantrer Manigana Iva. Veda Vyasa, he separated the mantras of the Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda and the Atharva Veda, just like a person sorts out Manigana Iva. if there is a huge collection of valuable jewels and all kinds of precious stones, so if all of them have got mixed up, the great work done by Veda Vyasa and his generations of disciples are that they have very nicely and systematically arranged all the different jewels, all the precious invaluable jewels of the Vedic teachings of the Vedic mantras in a very systematic way. So let us hear this very beautifully explained further in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, that um, Veda Vyasa gave the Rig Veda to Paila Rishi, and this part of Rig Veda is known as Bahvaricha, and he collected the mantras of the Yajurveda and gave it to Vaishampayana, and the Yajurveda mantras are known as Nighada. Likewise, he taught the Samaveda mantras to Jaimini, and this collection is known as Chandoga Samhita. And then he instructed the Atharva Veda mantras to his very dear disciple Angida Sumantu. So, first let us hear the division of the Rig Veda. The sage Paila, he received the Rig Veda from Veda Vyasa, and then he divided it into two parts and gave it to two of his disciples called Indra Pramiti and Bashkala. So Rig Veda was again divided into two parts, given to Indra Pramiti and Bashkala. Bashkala further divided his collection into four parts and gave it to his disciples, four disciples, Bodhya, Yagnavalkya, Parashara and Agnimitra. The second part of Rig Veda by Indra Pramiti was again divided to his disciple Devamitra and then to Saubhari. So later, the son of Mandukeya called Shakalya divided his collection of the Rig Veda into five parts and gave it to five of his disciples called Vatsya, Mudgala, Shaliya, Gokhalya and Shishira. Now, one more disciple of Shakalya called Jatukarnya, he received his part of the Rig Veda and divided it into four parts and gave it to four of his disciples called Balaka, the second Paila, Jabala and Viraja. And Bashkali, he assembled the Valakhilya Samhita, and this was given to three of his disciples called Valayani, Bhajya and Kashara. So in this way, the various samhitas of Rig Veda were maintained and divided into various parts and then passed on from guru to disciple, from spiritual master to disciple. And it is stated in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that simply by hearing of this distribution of the various Vedic hymns, one can become free from all material contaminations. Then it is explained that the Atharva Veda, which was received, which was given by Veda Vyasa to Vaishampayana, to his disciple called Vaishampayana. So, Vaishampayana received the Atharva Veda, and the disciples of Vaishampayana, they are known as Charakas. So they again obtained the sub parts of Atharva Veda, and they executed very, very strict vows. And once it so happened that one of the disciples of Vaishampayana by name Yagnavalkya, he kind of offended or tried to supersede the other disciples of Vaishampayana, because of which Vaishampayana he removed Yajnavalkya from his Gurukula, from his assembly. So at that time, Yajnavalkya's portion of the Atharva Vedas, of the Atharva Veda, was grabbed by the other disciples of Vaishampayana, which is also known as the Taittareya Samhita of the Yajurveda. So, Hare Krishna. So, in this way, this is called the Taittariya Samhita of the Yajurveda. And after that, sorry, this is actually the division of uh, Yajurveda, not of the Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda, we shall take it at the end, at the last. So, Yajurveda was given by Veda Vyasa to Vaishampayana, and Vaishampayana to Yajnavalkya and many of his disciples. And when Yajnavalkya left his portion of the Yajurveda, that was taken by the other disciples in the Gurukul of uh, Vaishampayana, and that section is known as the Taittariya Samhita. And Yajnavalkya left from that place and went to worship the Surya Devata, or the sun god, and from him he received many hundreds of new mantras from the Yajurveda, which were not yet revealed either by Vaishampayana Rishi nor by Veda Vyasa. And that unique portion of the Yajurveda, which was revealed by Surya, by the sun god, to Yajnavalkya in the form of many horses, is known as the Vajasane Samhita. And there are 15 branches of the Yajurveda. So 15 branches from the Vajasane Samhita of the Yajurveda, and they were further divided into 3 parts and given to the 3 disciples of Kanva, Madhyandina and Sayam. So this is the division of the Yajurveda, and let us next move to the division and the distribution of the Samaveda. So the description of the history of the distribution and division of the Samaveda is also considered to be very auspicious, which can completely vanquish all the material contamination in the heart of the living entities of this world. Samaveda, the most beautiful and the most melodious among the 4 Vedas. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Vedanam Samavedosmi, and again in the Samaveda, Krishna says Brihat Sama Tatha Samnam, that among the various beautiful hymns of Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama. So this Samaveda was received by Jaimini Rishi. Veda Vyasa instructed the Samaveda to Jaimini, and Jaimini had a son by name Sumantu, and Sumantu's son was Sutvan. So Jaimini spoke 3 parts of the Samaveda to Sumantu and to Sutvan, and that is called Samaveda Samhita, two parts. Then Sukarma was given the 3rd part, who is another, Sukarma is another disciple of Jaimini. So Sukarma received the 3rd part of the Samaveda and then divided that part of Samaveda into 1000 Samhitas. Then further, Sukarma gave to 3 of his disciples 3 of these parts of Samaveda, called as Hiranyarabha, Pausyanji and Avantya. So they took the 1000 parts 1000 samhitas of Samaveda, and then there were 500 disciples of Paushyanji and 500 disciples of Avantya, who became the northern Uttara Samagaha, the singers of the Samaveda of the northern region. And in later times, some of them also became the eastern Samagaha, or the Purva Samagaha, the singers of the eastern section of the Samaveda. There were 5 other disciples of Paushyanji named Laugakshi, Mangali, Kulya, Kushida, and Kukshi, who received 100 among the of the 500 samhitas. And later, the disciple of Hiranyanabha by name Krita, he received 24 samhitas, and he further distributed to his own disciples, and the remaining collection of the Samaveda was passed down by the great sage Avantya. And now coming to the division of the fourth Veda, that is Atharva Veda, it is explained that Veda Vyasa gave the Atharva Veda to Angira Sumantu Rishi, and Sumantu Maharshi taught his Samhita to his disciple by name Kabandha, who again divided it into 2 parts and gave it to 2 of his disciples by name Pathya and Vedadaksha. So Vedadaksha distributed, he divided his portion into 4 parts and gave it to 4 of his disciples by name Shauklayani, Brahmabali, Modosha, and Pippalayani. And Pathya, he also divided his portion into 3 parts and gave them to 3 disciples by name Kumuda, Shunaka, and Jajali. Later, Shunaka, he divided his portion into 2 parts and gave it to Babru and Saindhavayana. And Saindhavayana's disciple by name Savarna also compiled their portion of the Atharva Veda. The other acharyas of the Atharva Veda are Nakshatra Kalpa, Shanti Kalpa, Kashyapa, Angirasa. So in this way, the Atharva Veda was divided. Now, the fifth Veda, which is the Puranas, was given to 6 of the disciples. There are 6 masters of the Puranas, and before that, Veda Vyasa instructed all the Itihasas and Puranas to Romahagshana Sutta, and Romahagshana Sutta gave them to 6 of his disciples, and they are Trayaruni, Kashyapa, Savarani, Akritavrana, Vaishampayana, a different Vaishampayana, and Harita. So in this way, Taeta Rishayo Vedam Swam Swam Yasyan Anekadha Shishye Prashishye Tatshishye Vedaste Shakhino Bhavan. The Vedas were compiled and divided and made into various parts. The example is given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam very beautifully. Just like there may be a huge heap of various precious jewels and precious stones, so all of them may be mixed up. So Veda Vyasa and his disciples and the disciples of their disciples, they all did this great task of systematically arranging all these most invaluable gifts of mankind, the Vedic instructions, which are originally, Vedas are not compiled by any ordinary human beings. Originally, the Vedas have been given directly by the Supreme Lord. It is stated that Vedo Narayana Sakshat Swayambhur iti Shushguma. The Vedas were given at the beginning of creation by the Supreme Lord Narayana, and therefore this division was later done for the proper comprehension and understanding of the people of Kali Yuga. And it is stated in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that anyone who just hears this wonderful work of the division and compilation of the Vedas by Veda Vyasa and his disciples and his parampara and sampradaya also becomes free from all material sinful reactions. So after Veda Vyasa accomplished such a great task, what did he do? So that would be revealed further in tomorrow's session. And please do join us tomorrow if you have any questions. Yesterday's questions and today's questions would be taken up together in tomorrow by tomorrow afternoon in a separate video presentation. So please do post any questions or queries that you have in the comments box or in the WhatsApp group. Please do subscribe to this channel and do join us for tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.